We are reading from the 6th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, entitled Jnana Yoga, where a lot of Sankhya Yoga is discussed also, yes? On mine, it's page 283. You have it there? Suchao Deshe Pratishtapya Stiram Asanam Atmanaha Nati Uchiratam Naiti Nicham Chalichigna Kushotaram Tatrakaigram Manaha Kritva Yata Chitendriya Kriya Upavishane Yunjayad Yogam Atma Vishudaye Suchao Deshi Pratishtapya Stiram Asnam Atmanaha Naiti Uchiritam Naiti Nicham Chalai Jigna Kusotaram Tatra Kaigram Mana Kritva Yacha Tritendriya Kriyaha Upavishyase Yunjad Yogam Atma Vishudaye Suchao in a sanctified Deshe land Pratishtapya placing Stiram firm Asanam seat Atmanaha his own Na not Ati to Uchiritam high Na not Ati to Nischam low Jala Agnya of soft cloth and deerskin, Kusha and Kusha grass, Uttaram covering, Tatra thereupon, Eka Agram with one attention, Manaha mind, Kritva making, Yata Chitta controlling the mind, Indriya senses, Kriya and activities, Upavishya sitting, Asane on the seat, Yunjat should execute, Yogam yoga practice, Atma the heart, Vishudaye for clarifying. Translation. We don't have more light over here somehow? The lights are all over there. Okay. Translation. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusa grass on the ground and then cover it with a deerskin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities and fixing the mind on one point. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Sacred place refers to a place of pilgrimage. Who can think of one of those? Which one? Vrindavan. Okay, that's good. In India, the yogis, the transcendentalists, or the devotees all leave home and reside in sacred places such as Prayag, Mathura, Vrindavan, Rishikesh, and Hardwar. And in solitude, practice yoga where the sacred rivers like the Yamuna and the Ganges flow. But often this is not possible, especially for Westerners. The so-called yoga societies in big cities may be successful in earning material benefit, but they are not at all suitable for the actual practice of yoga. One who is not self-controlled and whose mind is not disturbed cannot practice meditation. Therefore, in the Brihan Naradiya Purana, it is said that in Kali Yuga, the present yuga or age, when people in general are short-lived, slow in spiritual realization, and always disturbed by various anxieties. That doesn't sound good, does it? The best means of spiritual realization is chanting the holy name of the Lord. Hari Nama, Hari Nama, Hari Nama Eva Kevalam. Kalur Nasteva Nasteva Gatir Anyatha. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, no other way, there is no other way. So now we'll read the verse together. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusa grass on the ground and cover it with a deerskin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities and fixing the mind on one point. So what's too high and what's too low? But where? What is too high? 20 feet? 1 inch? What is too high and what's too low? Does anybody know? Who has a deerskin? Deers do, right? Anybody else have one? Does anybody try this practice of yoga? Krishna is showing that it exists, that it's possible, something that we can do. Which incarnation of Krishna talks about this in the Srimad Bhagavatam and in which canto? Which one? Kapil, okay. Which canto? Third canto, yes. In the third canto, Kapila is talking about this to his mother, Devahuti. And interestingly enough, before this, just like here, Prabhupada is talking about how the yogis and devotees, they leave home and they go off to the places of pilgrimage. Before Kapila instructs the process of yoga and Sankhya to his mother, what does Kardama Muni, his father, do? You must know. What does he do? But what did he do before that? He left home. It's interesting to see in this that even though he's with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to show what the system should be. You know, Prabhupada stresses it so many times that after age 50, we leave household life and we go off to preach or go to places. And you think, well, what if I have a special son? Could there be a more special son than the Supreme Personality of Godhead? No. So he left home first, and then Kapila Dev instructed this instruction. Now what's interesting, you know, Krishna shows that there's different ways to do it. Like you can eat the food like this, or you can go around like this. Prabhupada explains in the instructions of Kapila Muni to his mother that for all of the practices there are in this yoga system, there is similar, parallel ones in the bhakti process. But what's the difference? Anybody know what a difference is? It's easier, yes. See, and they both have the things. In one, in the bhakti process, we have devotion first, and then we have austerity, and we have advancing in spiritual knowledge. Which one of those three do we need? Which one? All three, yes. But we put the devotion first. Whereas in the process of yoga, austerity may come first. And in the process of jnana or sankhya, the study of scriptures and analyzation of material nature comes first. So they all have the same ideas. It's a matter of which comes first. So in the process of bhakti, it's a little easier. It's just like you can go to Delhi by driving from here straight to Delhi, right? But can you also take the train to Kanpur and then fly from Kanpur to Delhi? Can you do that? Yes? Who says yes? It's possible, but it's difficult. So you can fly from Kanpur? Actually, you can't. You have to go to Lucknow, to the airport there. So it's the fact that it's not in one point, because there's so many things you have to do, you might get confused. So if you're trying to find the Kanpur airport, it may be difficult. The difficult in this process, you have to figure your way, ascending. I ascend my way up to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or to merge into the impersonal Brahman. But it's much easier when we depend on Krishna. Krishna says that he preserves what we have and he carries what we lack. And for me, he probably has to do a lot more carrying what I lack than preserving what I have. But when I asked this question in the Bhagavatam class, Gopal said, it isn't a big deal for Krishna. Even if he has to carry a lot of what we lack, that isn't a big deal for him. He's not going, oh no, what do I do now? This is a big deal for me. It's not a big deal. Krishna is also showing that he knows these different processes. That's why we should know these processes, so that instead of finding fault with them, we say, yes, that is a good stepping stone to this. It's just like if someone is distributing books and someone says, oh, well, I don't read much. You go, oh, good, these are perfect books for people who don't read. People say, oh, I read the book on yoga. Oh, well, this is the book that comes right after that. So we want to realize that whatever, that we understand these things, because we want to realize that we want them to realize that we want to help them to get to the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is not just to stare at the tip of the nose. That must not be considered as important because we don't know what is too high and what is too low, right? Is this too high? And is this too low? Or is this too low and this is too high? Do we know? There's hard and fast rules for these, right? And what are the hard and fast rules for chanting the holy names? Nothing, we just chant them. Yes? We make it easier. So, it's explained here that we go to a secluded place. So how do we go to a secluded place? Do we go out to the forest with the kusa grass and find a deer skin? Is that secluded? Is it? Where's a secluded place in Delhi? Yes, the Punjabi Bagh temple, the east of Kailash temple, Rohini and Dwarka temples, Faridabad, you can be in a crowded place and still be secluded, yes? Just like some rich people in Delhi or Mumbai, right? They keep all the doors closed and there's a big wall around their house. They may be in a city with millions of people, right? But they're secluded, aren't they? Yes? They're secluded there. So we seclude ourselves in associating with devotees. Plus, as Prabhupada explains, particularly in purports to this in the instructions of Kapila Dev, that Kapila Dev says that we should be friendly to all living entities. But we don't associate with everybody. We may say, yes, sir, and it's nice to see you, and that's very good, you must be right. But we associate and take instructions from people who are more spiritual. We don't associate with the average people. We go to help them out. We go to bring them towards us. We go to give them a literature, invite them to the kirtan. And we have to be very friendly to them. But it's just like when the person is doing book sales. He tries to get someone's attention. If he can't get their attention, he skips them and goes to someone else. So we find that if somebody, there's three classes of devotees, right? The Uttama Adhikari sees everybody as a pure devotee. The Madhyama Adhikari worships the Lord. He makes friends with the devotees. He helps the innocent, and he stays away from the antagonistic or demoniac. Then there is the Kanishta Adhikari, who is just me and God, pushes everyone out of the way to see himself and the deity. So the Kanishta Adhikari is the easiest. So should we do that one, or should we go straight to the Uttama Adhikari because it's the best? Which one of the two do we do? Which one? Which one? Which one is it, Kanishta or Uttama? Which do we try to do? Which? But we should be at the top, shouldn't we? What? But the top is too difficult. Shouldn't we start at the bottom? So which one of those is correct? That we should try to be a Kanishta, or we should try to be Uttama Adhikari? Which one is correct? Which? You got it. Neither one was correct. It was a trick question. The Madhyama Adhikari in the middle. He figured it out. It was a trick question. It's neither one. Where the Uttama Adhikari is too far away for us, and the Kanishta is too simple. We shouldn't try to be that. So we try to be the Madhyama Adhikari, where we worship God, make friends with the devotees, help the innocent. You figured it out even though it was a trick question, right? Neither one of those two answers was correct. It's the Madhyama Adhikari in the middle. That's the one that we should try to be. And then we stay away from the demoniac people. So how do we tell if somebody's innocent? Say you're distributing books or talking to them. What is a good way to see if they're a good prospect? If they hit you with a pot, that's not a good sign, right?
Like you.
What?
Like you.
No, what would be a sign? That's something that they would do. If you're talking to them, what's a good sign to show if they're innocent?
They are inquisitive.
They're inquisitive. Yes? Meaning that they're what?
They want to know.
Yes, they're willing to take some instruction. Even if it's not a lot, it can be just a little instruction, right? Sometimes that's what we do. We start with the easy instruction. Narada Muni wanted Magrari the hunter. Anybody not know the story of Magrari the hunter?
Yeah.
Everyone knows this, right? So he wanted Magrari to become a pure devotee. But what was the first thing he asked him?
Give up.
What?
Give up his profession.
No. Completely kill the animals. Because it doesn't seem like a lot, but he started him with something simple. You start with something simple. You get somebody started. Just like when we're talking to someone, we don't want them to join the temple. We ask them to come and chant one round with us. Or in the West, come and watch what we do. Come and get someone started somewhere. We make it simple. But the main idea is if they're inquisitive and they're willing to take some direction. If they're willing to take some direction. So because Mrigari the hunter was willing to take the direction of at least completely killing the animals, now he's open to more. Vaisheshika says this when he wants people to go on books. He says, just go with the devotees and watch them do it. Because if you get started, then you will continue the path. So we tell people that. We try to get them started easy. And then we try to continue them from there. So this process is valid, sitting on the kusa grass, and Krishna's explaining it here, right? It's valid, but it's more difficult. But Krishna is also explaining it so that if we talk to people and they say, oh, well, we do this process, Krishna doesn't know about this. Krishna is explaining it so that he can show that there are some things that are bad, some things that are good, and other things that are better. It's like if I show you a 100 rupee note, I say, you like this? Yes. Okay, here, how about the 2,000 rupee note? If the 100 rupee note is good, the 2,000 must be better. So Krishna is not talking that this is bad, but he's showing that this is possible, but he's showing later that there is something that is easier and better that we can do. But what are some of the points that we should do here in this verse? What does the last part of this verse say? What do we have to do? What are the last two words of this verse? What are they? Someone must have a book. What are the last two words of this verse? Fixing the mind on one point. So is that something we do? Now we don't do like Prabhupada says, sometimes the yogis will draw a target or a circle. So we do that, we fix the mind on that one point, right? Is that what we do? We draw like a target and then we fix our mind on the target? Or I meditate on a glass of water? What? And I explained that that's what the yogi is supposed to do with one point, is he's supposed to meditate on the feet of Krishna and then gradually move up to the ankles and the thighs and meditate on the heart and the face of Krishna. And the yogis work more on smaranam. We do smaranam, we remember the Lord, but we don't start with that. What do we start with, fixing the mind on one point? Shravana. Now why is Shravana more important than Kirtana? Well, but why? As in relation to the end of this verse, fixing the mind on one point, why does that relate to Shravanam? What? But why does that relate to here? It says fixing the mind on one point. So why does Shravanam relate to that? Because if we're hearing, we're fixing our mind on it. If we're just throwing it all around, it's like trying to water the plant and throwing it across the room. Some may get there, but it's better to fix it on one point. So if we're hearing, the Shravanam makes the Kirtanam perfect, because if we're hearing it, we're fixing it on one point. So the idea is to get to this one point. Krishna is explaining a more difficult process here, but the idea of getting to one point is important. Now, if the yogi fixes on one point, he may do better than we do if we don't fix on one point. So the Shravanam is important. Hearing. Krishna says earlier in Bhagavad-Gita that they offer the fire of the hearing process in the fire of the controlled mind. Because if we're hearing it, then the mind is controlled. Because the idea here is if we fix on a point, the idea is to withdraw the mind from sense gratification and material attachments. It may be more difficult, but if the person does this, then it may be easier for him to come in contact with Krishna consciousness. This is why we go to yoga studios and vegetarian places where people are trying to fix the mind and do something better and plant the seed where there's fertile soil. The best thing is if we can get these people to hold a program and we come to there and explain to them, because these people are good candidates, because they are trying to fix the mind on something better. Now, of course, if we fix the mind on Krishna, then automatically we will be fixed and something better will come. Because we don't have just a target to meditate on, or just the form, but we meditate on the nama, guna, the rupa, and lila, the name, the form, the quality, and the pastimes of Krishna. So we have several ways to put the mind on one point. We read and think of the pastimes and instructions of Krishna. We look at the form of a deity, which the deity can be the deity in the temple. And this is a good way to fix the mind. The first thing we do in the morning is we go down and the door opens and we fix our mind on those deities, right? This is fixing, because the point is to fix the mind. This process may be difficult, but the goal of what's important is fixing the mind on one point. So we pick the best point to fix the mind on, right? Isn't it? We fix on the best point. So the best point is the deity, or the name of Krishna, and the pastimes of Krishna. We find this even when Patanjali writes the Yoga Sutras. He says that the ultimate goal is Ishvara Pranidhana, to surrender and concentrate on God. So when the people do the exercises, the point of the exercises is to take the mind off of sense gratification, to limber up the body so you can sit and meditate on one point. But finding this one point is difficult. So we draw the target and we concentrate on the target. Is that it? Is that the right idea or not? Do we? Or do we concentrate on Krishna? We do have a target, but Krishna is the target. And this is our secluded place here. And we find this is the idea. Either way, if you control the mind, it will be easy to think of Krishna. And if you think of Krishna, it will be easy to control the mind. Because as we read sometime in the last chapter, that for someone who controls his mind, that when the mind is unbridled, spiritual progress is very difficult. But someone who controls his mind, by appropriate means, it becomes a lot easier. So this is something to do. We were seeing yesterday, they had the picture of the horses, are the different senses, and they're going off after the sense objects. So what we do is we let the horses run wild. Is that what we do? Say you have to go somewhere, and you get on a horse buggy. Do you just let the horses run wild and you expect to get there? They say if you don't know where you're going, it's difficult to get there. Is that the way to get there? Or do you find where you're going, and you use the reins? The intelligence is the driver, the reins are the mind, and you make the horses go where you want the horses to go. So if you want to make the horses go where you need to go, what's the first thing you need to find out? Where you need to go, right? Like I can't say, yes, I'm going to Loy Bazaar, but I don't know where it is. We need to find where it is that we're going. But if we're chanting the holy names, and the holy names are absolute, why is it important to concentrate on one point? Is this important, or can we just do anything with it? Just like you see the guy in the motorcycle and he's texting and trying to drive, does this look like a good idea? Why is this a bad idea? Because you know how the brain works? The brain has something called a reticular regulator. And whatever you tell the brain is important, then everything else needs to wait. So if he's driving the motorcycle saying, I need to drive correctly, I know this is a stretch, they don't seem to do this, do they? And I need to use the signal when I'm turning, and I need to concentrate on what I'm doing and watch the road. But if he's texting, then the mind says, okay, the driving is of secondary importance, the text is most important. So then does he drive well? No. So when we're chanting, if we tell the mind, okay, now the chanting is important. So then do we also drive the car and do a text and get on the computer and you get on a motorcycle with a computer and try to chant it? Is that what you do? No, it isn't what you do. So that's why we fix the mind on one point, because when we fix it on one point, the brain says this is important, everything else can wait. Like I tell people, I write down what I'm going to do later in the day. They said, you write it? What's that? Oh, too much light. They write it so that you can remember. I said, no, I write it so I don't have to remember it till later. Because if I write down what I'm going to do tomorrow, at 9 o'clock I'm going to do this, make this phone call, get on the computer, do this, then I know that when it's time to chant, these things have already been written down later. I don't need to think about it because it comes later. When time comes later, I open the book. They even tell people for proper time management, one thing you can do is you take the paper and you fold it over, right? Like right now is chanting. Then, okay, now something else, and now something else. And you go to the thing that you're doing. Because just like on a computer, when you're running too many programs, it goes too slow. So we have to concentrate the mind on one point. We start with the deity in the morning when we're chanting. It's good to have conversations with devotees and other people. Is that good? And his chanting rounds good. But not at the same time, right? Right? It's just like taking a shower is good and driving the car is good, but not at the same time. So we have to do the appropriate thing at the appropriate time. So especially if we get our rounds done early, then we know the most important thing is done. Otherwise, if we're trying to talk to people and chant, then neither one gets done well. I do my chanting, and then if I have something to take care of, I can put full attention on it and do it as a matter of service, fixing the mind on one point. So this is the point of this, fixing the mind on one point. And we do that by Shravanam and Kirtanam, and then the Padasevanam. All these things come about afterwards. Because if we fix the mind, then the person is fixing the mind when he's dressing the deity in the morning. He's fixed on the deity. And he is fixed on doing the service. He's not doing something else. Now, one person was helping me with my mother when she'd had injuries. And he put some corn on to cook it, and then he left the house, and it almost burned up. And the one woman who I said, don't do anything weird with her husband owns a whole city. And anyway, he left the house and left the corn where all the water drained out and the pot burned and the corn. And he said, don't they ever do that at the temple? I said, no, because the point of cooking is to make an offering, right? So you can't leave before the cooking is done, because you cook it and you're careful cooking it, and then you make an offering. You don't start cooking and then just leave, do you? You don't do something else until that is done. Do you make the offering while you're cooking? No, you finish the one thing, and then you go to the next thing. This is how in our service we keep the mind on one point. So first you do the cooking, and then you put it on the offering plate. I remember my friend Guru Kripa is here once in Mumbai. The girl had taken, I went and she was doing the artik, and I saw the plate was still in the kitchen. And I said to Guru Kripa, how is she doing the artik when the plate is still in the kitchen? So Guru Kripa went up to the altar while he's doing it and says, hey Tungabhadra, where's the plate? And she looked down, there was no plate. What she'd done is she left the plate in the kitchen and gone to do an offering without taking the plate there. So we have to remember the whole point of doing the cooking is to make the plate, and the whole point of making the plate is to take it in and do the offering, right? They say this in America, that some people, they get out of their car and leave the baby there because they're not concentrating. Wouldn't you think this would be the most important point? So they tell people, well, leave a cell phone next to the baby so that you'll remember that your baby is there. So they're saying that people will remember their cell phone before they'll remember their baby. So we have to remember the first things first. We remember Krishna first. We remember the service at hand first. We remember the baby next, and the cell phone comes after that. How many times do you go to the temple without the cell phone? Many times, right? How many times do you go without japa beads? Never, right? Because it's more important. I can go without the phone, but can I go without the japa beads? No. So we have to remember that these are methods to fix the mind on one point. And even though this method is more difficult, it's valid. And if that person is doing this and taking the mind off sense gratification, most of the people who do yoga, they take their mind off sense gratification? Or it doesn't quite work that way? No. Maybe they didn't fix the mind on one point. Or maybe that one point was a member of the opposite sex, right? That's a form of meditation, isn't it? People meditate on this, don't they? Yes? They meditate on the forms of the opposite sex. This is what they meditate on. Because they are doing the process backwards. They are letting the mind become controlled by the senses. And the intelligence has to listen to the mind. But the intelligence is the next door neighbor to the spirit soul. So the soul gives the intelligence the instructions. And he takes the mind and fixes it on one point, which starts with Shravanam Kirtanam and goes to worshiping the deities and to Smaranam and reading, so that we should concentrate on the things that we're doing. And we should not only read and we chant, hear and chant, but read these instructions in Bhagavad-Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and other places. So, are there any questions or comments on this? Yes?
You mentioned that
So we should approach people who are doing this and say, that's good, you're doing this yoga. We have another form of yoga that we do.
well, it says you should purify the mind, so the heart.
Yes,
So what is the meaning of the heart in that connection?
the heart is the soul.
But the soul is pure.
The soul is pure, but the stuff surrounding it's not. It's just like water is always pure, right? But when things get in it, then the water is said to be impure. But it's not that the water is impure, but the things covering it. So it's covered by impurities, so you can say it's impure water. Even though it's incorrect, it's correct, yes? See, that's the difference between Christianity and Krishna consciousness, is we teach the pure soul theology. In Christianity, they teach fractured soul theology. And in the Kapila Dev says the soul is never fragmented. It's never fractured. They say the soul is broken and fragmented without the Savior. So just like that, water is essentially pure, but you have to take the contaminant away from it. So it may be just like if you have a sweet ball and you drop it in the mud. The sweet ball may be pure, but the stuff sticking to it may not be. So we have to remove the contamination that's surrounding our mind and our heart. It's covering. Just like water, you purify it, not by adding something, but by taking the impurities out. But the impurities don't go to the molecular level, but they are influencing it.
Is that what Bhagavatam called the chitta, the purified consciousness? This
Yes.
area?
Yes, we're trying to purify it. Because the covering around it may not be pure. The method is not to find the details, but to how to, right? It's like gold is a pure metal, but if it's dusty, you take the dust off of it. So the dust is there. It explains like the dust in the form of lust. You know, it can be like dust on the mirror, or it can be like the smoke-covered fire or the embryo in the womb. So it can be covered. So we're covered by ignorance and passion, and we're influenced by these things. So we have to take these things out, just like you purify the water. I have a purifier at home where you run it through the charcoal and it takes the impurities out. You can't just say, well, water is pure, so you drink it. So the soul is pure, but it's covered by impurities. So we have to take these things out, either by the process of meditation or adding Krishna. But you have to do something. But we find that this process of chanting the holy names is the easiest and the best. But we don't invalidate the others. We just let people know that we have something easier and better. And at least if they're trying that, they're good candidates for devotional service. We should remember that. If somebody's trying to purify themselves. Because many people don't even try to purify themselves. They even join some religion and they think, well, I can't purify myself, or it doesn't matter. I just surrender to God, but I do all the same things. Well, what's the point? You can't just decide that you're that. It's like I can't just decide that I'm a cricket player. I actually have to learn to play it, right? Any other question? Yes?
Another question that reminds me is one who serves the Lord without personal motivation can never be defeated in this process and will certainly go back on body in this near future.
Yes. That sounds like a statement. What's the question of it? That probably we have to purify our motive more. We have to know, why am I doing something, right? Am I doing this to please Krishna or to please myself or just to look good?
This is another statement. One who liberally distribute this knowledge among my devotees is the steward of the absolute truth, and to him I give my very own self.
Yes? That's why we should purify ourselves and give this to others. Plus, if we purify, they even say in sales that something like 75% is working on yourself. Because if your mind is undisturbed and your mind is controlled and you're a good person, people pick up on that. And it's easier to influence them. Find that with book distributors. The ones who have the best sadhana do the best. You can't roll out of bed at 9 in the morning, chant no rounds, and go out and sell lots of books to people. You have to have purified yourself and have some love for other people and some detachment from profit, adoration, distinction, and what people think about you. So we purify our motive. We do something for Krishna just because we love Krishna. And then automatically everything else is taken care of. Hare Krishna. Any other question? That should be it. So we're getting the kusa grass and deerskin? No? Who should have a deerskin? A deer. A deer should have a deerskin, right? But Krishna is showing he knows these things and it's valid, but he will go on later to explain the different kinds of yogis and explain what is the best yogi. We won't give that away now. Krishna will explain all about the different kinds of yogis, and then he'll talk about what the best yogi is. But I'm not going to give it away now. Hare Krishna.